Summary of the Good Woman of Setsuan by Bertolt Brecht. Wang is a poor man who sells water in the poor town of Setsuan. One day, he meets 3 dirty, tired visitors at the city gates. Wang knows right away that they are gods in disguise. When the first god tells Wang that they need a place to stay the night, Wang tries quickly to find someone who will let the gods stay for the night, but no one will let them in. At last, a nice prostitute named Shen Teh reluctantly agrees to let the gods stay with her. Wang goes back to where he lives, which is in a sewer drain. In the morning, the gods thank Shen Teh for her kindness and tell her that she is the only good human being they've met on their journey. Shen Teh says she doesn't think she's really good, and if she had more money, it might be easier for her to be good. The second god doesn't want to mess with economics, but the third god is adamant that Shen Teh should get some money for her work. The gods give Shen Teh more than 1,000 silver dollars and then leave. They continue their search for good people on earth to help them decide if the world can stay as it is or if it needs to be completely remade. Shen Teh takes the money the gods give her and rents a small tobacco shop. But as soon as word gets around town about her good luck, she runs into problems. Mrs. Shin, the store's former owner who is upset with Shen Teh, wants him to give her enough rice every day to feed her family. The builder who put the shelves in the store for the last owner is threatening to take them away if Shen Teh doesn't pay him a huge amount of money. A man who is out of work asks for free broken tobacco stock. A poor family of 8, including a husband, wife, nephew, niece, brother, sister-in-law, grandson, and young boy, moves into the store's back room. This is the same family that gave Shen Teh a place to stay when she came to Setsuan from the countryside. The landlord, Mrs. Mitsu, wants Shen Teh to give her names from men who can vouch for his money, as well as 6 months' rent in advance. Shen Teh says that her cousin Shui Ta is a smart businessman, and she promises that Shui Ta will come soon to meet Mrs. Mitsu and give a good word for Shen Teh. Shen Teh's first day at the shop was very busy, and as it came to an end, she was amazed at how many people clung to the lifeboat of one person's success. As the gods keep showing up in Wang's dreams to see if Shen Teh is still good, things keep getting harder for Shen Teh herself. Shen Teh pretends to be Shui Ta so she can make the tough business and emotional choices she needs to make to keep her shop going. Shen Teh, dressed as Shui Ta, kicks out the family of 8 during business hours, threatens the carpenter, fights with Mrs. Mitsu, and even puts an ad in the paper looking for a rich husband who can help her run her business. Shen Teh falls in love with Yang Sun, a suicidal, unemployed pilot who is sweet and meets her in the park one afternoon. Even though Yang Sun is poor and mean, Shen Teh loves him too much to agree to marry her rich neighbor, a barber named Shu Fu, and take his money. Shen Teh's poor neighbors complain that her new love is taking her away from her responsibilities to them. Meanwhile, Shen Teh borrows money from an old man and woman who own a nearby carpet shop so she can help Yang Sun get out of debt. This arrangement threatens her goodness. Shen Teh finds out one afternoon that Yang Sun is only using her for her money because he needs to pay someone at an airport in Peking to get a job. This is when she is pretending to be Shui Ta. Shen Teh decides to go ahead with her wedding to Yang Sun anyway. The wedding is a failure, and the marriage is never made official because Yang Sun and Yang Sun's mother, Mrs. Yang, refuse to start the service until Shui Ta arrives. When the gods come to Wang in his dreams, he tells them about Shen Teh's troubles, but the gods say that Shen Teh's troubles will only make her stronger and better. Mrs. Shin finds out about Shen Teh's trick when she changes into her fake, Shui Ta, too quickly. Shen Teh was trying to make money off of the large amount of stolen tobacco that the family of 8 brought into her shop. Shu Fu gives Shen Teh, as Shui Ta, a blank check, which lets him set up shop in a group of houses on the edge of town that Shu Fu owns. Shen Teh, on the other hand, is pregnant with Yang Sun's child, which is not her own. Mrs. Shin tells her that Shu Fu will stop being kind if he finds out what's wrong with Shen Teh. Shen Teh chooses to stay for months pretending to be Shui Ta. The tobacco business does well, and Shui Ta's steady weight gain is put down to his growing wealth and gluttony. However, the poor people in the village start to miss the kind and sweet Shen Teh, and some even worry that Shui Ta killed her. When a cop comes up to Shui Ta at Wang's request and asks where Shen Teh is, Shui Ta doesn't know. He is put in jail. Wang tells the gods that if Shen Teh really has disappeared, all is lost, so they reluctantly agree to go back to Setsuan to help look for her. The whole town shows up for Shui Ta's hearing. The gods come in as 3 judges to listen to the reasoning. Rich business owners who have done well with Shui Ta jump to his defense, while the poor who miss Shen Teh and have only ever been hurt by Shui Ta's abuse criticize him. As the angry crowd asks why Shen Teh left Setsuan, Shui Ta says that the locals would have torn her to pieces if she had stayed. Shui Ta wants everyone to leave the courtroom because he has something to tell the judges. When Shen Teh is alone in the room with the gods, she takes off her mask and tells them the truth. The gods can't believe it. Shen Teh writes a sad song about how hard it has been for her to try to be good and still live. She feels like she has been torn in two. She doesn't like how bad things get praised and good things get punished. The gods, on the other hand, tell Shen Teh to stop beating herself up and tell her how glad they are to have met the one good person in all their trips. Shen Teh says that she failed to be a good woman and instead turned into a bad man. Instead of helping Shen Teh solve her moral problem, the gods decide to go back to their void by riding a pink cloud into the sky. Shen Teh begs the gods to tell her what to do about all of her problems, but all they say is continue to be good. In a short ending scene, one of the players steps forward and gives a speech that doesn't belong to any particular character. The actor says that it's up to the audience to find a happy finish for the play and decide what will change the world, whether it's new gods or atheism, capitalism or asceticism, moral strength or more debauchery.
About the author. Bertolt Brecht was born into a middle-class family in Bavaria at the turn of the 20th century. At the start of World War I, Brecht went to medical school to escape being forced to join the German army. Soon, he became interested in theater, and in 1918, he wrote Ball, a full-length play about a young artist who was gone bad. At the beginning of the 1920s, Brecht went to Munich. There, he kept writing plays, and critics praised him as the start of a new era in theater. As Brecht's fame grew, his first marriage started to fall apart. He moved to Berlin to be with his friends Elisabeth Hauptmann and Helene Weigel, where he made connections in the theater world and built artistic groups in the city's thriving cultural center. Brecht and the people who worked with him tried to find new ways to make theater that showed how hypocritical capitalism was and how silly it was to use art as a way to escape reality. The Threepenny Opera opened in 1928 and was an instant hit in Berlin. It also sparked a new era of experimentation in shows around the world. When Hitler took power in 1933, Brecht left Nazi Germany for Denmark. Over the next few years, as the Nazis took over one country after another in Scandinavia, he moved from place to place until he was able to escape to Los Angeles. Even though it was a rough time, Brecht wrote many of his most famous anti-fascist works during it. Today, Life of Galileo, Mother Courage and Her Children, and The Caucasian Chalk Circle are held up as great examples of German exiliteratur, or literature of the exiled. As the Red Scare gripped America in the late 1940s, Brecht was banned by Hollywood and put on trial for having communist views. Brecht was a Marxist, but he was never a member of the Communist Party. His speech to the House Un-American Activities Committee caused a lot of trouble, and Brecht went back to Europe the day after he spoke. Back in East Berlin in 1949, Brecht started the well-known Berliner Ensemble, but his own creative work slowed down. Brecht was upset and lost hope because of the political fighting in East Berlin, and he died of heart failure in 1956.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.